Hi everyone, Nick here, and today we're having a look back at another F1 2020 league race, this time on the streets of Baku, home of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Now, you may be wondering, why does my Williams look somewhat bluer? And the reason for that is because I'm not in the Williams anymore. That little reverse look at my rear wing will helpfully tell you that I'm driving an AlphaTauri at the moment. Now, this is because we've had a little bit of a mix-up with some of the cars in this real performance season of the Serious Racing League, and the idea is to get a bit of a mixture between the people who have been put in the terrible cars such as the Williams, the Haas and the Alfa Romeo, and give them a sort of break from the tedium of those cars. And as a result, it was my turn to have a little go in the AlphaTauri. And one other thing you'll probably notice from this little practice race that I'm showing you here is that I qualified first and held the lead and won this race eventually. It did look like me being in the AlphaTauri was going to give me a little bit, potentially too much of a pace boost, because realistically it was looking like it was going to be not an easy pole and win, but it was looking likely that might be what would happen. So into qualifying then, and my first lap was alright. It's the usual fare with short qualifying. You don't want to go flat out, all out, because, well, firstly, the conditions are better towards the end of the short qualifying session, and secondly, it's Baku. I don't want to lose a wheel somewhere and not even set a lap. So we crossed the line, 140.517, which at that point was good enough for provisional pole. But we could do much better than that, we knew that. So we wound it up for a second attempt, and this ended up being my fastest lap of qualifying. So we're going to stay on board for the whole thing and see how it went. So DRS, we've been on DRS and 8th gear full throttle for ages. Brake a little bit before the curb starts on the right hand side, use all of the track available and try and get on the throttle nice and early. Not ideal here, but again we get in there, a little bit of a tap on the left hand side on the curb in turn 2. I like to not really touch it. If you do, just graze it, definitely don't ride it or anything like that, and then just go up through the gears to turn 3. Again, braking just a little bit before 100 metres for me, and then just get the car turned and accelerated, and we've done really nicely through there. Turn 4 again, just I think before 50 metres, and get a nice turn and exit. We turn in nice and early for that one, avoid the curb on the right hand side there, and then just get the car straightened and as ever accelerating. Right, castle section here, we're going to be a bit more bold through here I think, because we're going to brake nice and late for that one. We're going to send it through here, probably could go a bit faster through there, but we'll save that for our third run. And we've had a decent little castle sector, and we're nearly half a second up on our previous best. So there's only 2 real corners left on the track, even though we've got over 30 seconds to go. Here's one of them. You brake just when the curb ends on the right hand side, and I like to take a sort of wide angle. We go from the left, sweep to the right, and then go there. Final corner, we just focus on getting it turned. Don't run wide on the exit in case we invalidate, and just set ourselves up for a long blast to the finish line. So we're just shy of 6/10 up on our previous best, just ticked into 6/10 exactly there, and we're going to cross the line in a moment. Such a long straight here, and we cross the line to do a 139.900, which was again good lap, but I felt like I could do better, so I thought I'd go for a final lap, go absolutely full send through the castle section and see what I could do. Unfortunately, I didn't really get that far with my lap, as we turned it a little bit too early there, and then the same there, touched that curb and it's unsettled the car, and we've lost a 10th. And then because I'm trying to now sort of really attack, I then just get completely lost and cut that corner by absolutely miles. Absolute slam dunk invalidation, and that was it. So we're still on pole by over 4/10. That's pretty good, but I was a little bit disappointed because I thought I could have gone faster. I would like to have set a nice fast lap, but, you know, it's pole. Can you really be too unhappy with that? No, of course not, especially when I've not had anything close to a pole all season. So, nice clear track in front of us at the start of the race. Tricky turn 1 though, because it's such a short run and can get a bit congested. So we go into a corner, brake nice and late, leave the apex nice and clear in case anyone's going to go up the inside, and it's already a safety car because there's been a bit of a shambles behind, and pretty much everyone seemed to crash into each other behind and give each other 5-second time penalties because they're behind the safety car. So we fast forward to the end of lap 4, very long opening safety car here, and we are in charge of the restart. So we're going to do our usual thing here, trying to take it nice and cautiously, but also we're just going to let the safety car get way down the road, and I think that's the best way to do it, especially when you've got long straights as part of your safety car restart. So we're just going to let it go, keep a nice steady pace, not stopping, starting, anything like that. Bit of a weave to get some warmth into the tyres, but we're just going to be nice and cautious. Safety car gets to the pit lane, and then we just go, okay, cool, now rich fuel, EOS on overtake, and we're just going to drive away. So that's absolutely fine. But we turned that all down for the first couple of corners because what we wanted to do is, over the first lap, I just wanted to be really cautious because I was obviously conscious that I was on pole. I felt like I had some really good pace here, so I didn't want to mess anything up by being silly, by making a silly mistake and spinning. So we held a lead of about a second over Frankie behind us going through lap 5, and although we set a fastest lap, that was basically by default. It was the first person to set a flying lap in the entire race. Lap 6 though, we were going to go a bit more attacking, so we're going to use rich fuel all lap round, and we're going to use a bit of EOS as well, and the idea is to try and stretch our lead to the cars behind because we started the race on soft tyres. They don't last an awful long time around Baku, so we're looking at pitting probably around lap 7, 8, 9. Maybe we could go towards lap 9 or something like that because of the safety car, meaning we didn't really wear our tyres all that much over the opening laps in the race. But the other thing that also would potentially throw, well, not a spanner in the works, but was something we wanted to bear in mind, was that Frankie, who's the driver behind, was also in the AlphaTauri. So maybe, I don't know, if I made some kind of small mistake, he might be able to jump me, or if there was a safety car, then maybe something would be like that. So I just wanted to try and get a bit of a move on. And as you can see at this point, we're 2.2 seconds up on the car behind. We've pulled out over a second a lap, and we've done all right here. Now, unfortunately, this is where it all started to unravel because, well, I'll just let you see the actual footage as it was, and I'll explain afterwards. What? What? My monitor's turning off.
Not ideal.
What's that? So I'm not 100% sure exactly what happened, but I think there was some kind of miscommunication between my capture card and my monitor, and some kind of HDCP handshake error or something, which basically meant this is what I saw. What? What? My monitor's turning off.
Not ideal.
What's that? What the fuck? Not ideal at all. In retrospect, it was actually really good that I had the quick thinking to just press pause and let the game take over, as if I'd been trying to go through the fast left right at the end of the lap with no monitor, I'm not sure I'd have survived that. But anyway, the AI decided that I needed to pit at the end of lap 6, which I was not thinking of doing, but at least it put me on the right strategy, so I was on hards till the end. But it did mean I hadn't had any time to build up any kind of cushion on the cars behind, and it put me out in some major traffic. So you can see there we've dropped down to 15th place, and we're now behind Mav, but we're obviously at this point going to go on the attack, and we've got the inside line here, we've got the DRS, rich fuel, and we're going to go up the inside. We go kind of side by side through turn 3. It's looking okay, but Mav concedes a place into turn 4, and Mav gives us a little bump and another bump, and we're now facing the wrong way, which has been proven to be suboptimal for your chances of a good race. So we were now down to 18th, and we were some distance down, and then the monitor then decided to do the same thing. I think I maybe played with the cables or something like that down beside me, but it never happened again, never happened before. Really no idea what was going on, but at this point, let's just say we were approaching heads gone 5. It was getting a bit silly. So the game paused as we didn't know what was going on with the cables. We're going to wait until we get to a nice straight bit, which in the middle sector of Azerbaijan doesn't really exist. So we're going to wait there, unpause it, regain control, and we're 2 seconds now behind Port in 17th. That's going to reduce somewhat as he decides to go straight on in that corner. I think he'd already picked up some damage at the castle earlier, so we got up the inside before the final proper corner. And that's good because we're now up into 17th place, but we are now, well, we're nearly 12 seconds behind Miles, who is in 16th. And yeah, that's not where we were planning on being when we started the race on pole and got away so nice and safely. But we are going to gain a place towards the end of lap 7 as Mav, who presumably got a bit of damage from the contact with my rear end, and that means we're up into 16th. 16th was going to become 14th as we gained a couple of places coming into lap 10, as well as setting the fastest lap of the race at that point. And we came across Chugsy, who was ahead of us. He was also on hard tyres in his McLaren, and I tried to get him down the DRS straight into turn 3, but wasn't really able to gain too much. I didn't really have any EOS available, so I decided not to go for a silly send there, and then decided to be really properly galaxy brained about things. Despite the fact I've got nearly 2.5 laps of fuel, I decided, do you know what, I can save fuel behind Chugsy and just put it down into lean and then still overtake him, which ended up working really, really well, because by the end of the lap I'd nearly dropped out of, well, it was more than DRS range behind him. So yeah, great job there, Nick. We put everything on and were able to get back within DRS range before the detection point, which is here. So we're 7 tenths behind. So we do get DRS, but we're 7 tenths behind. So we're not going to get anything done from here. If I'd actually pushed over the course of a lap and stayed on his tail, then that would have been an absolute slam dunk. And also, it might have meant that I got the jump on these people who were coming out of the pits if I hadn't been so slow. But we weren't going to get a chance to get a jump on them anytime soon because there was another safety car. This was as a result of Stefano's Ferrari being sent into the turn 3 barrier. So lap 11 and we're up to 14th. Not what we had in mind, but at least it was going to condense the pack, and it's going to be 13th as we go past. Well, it's disappeared now, but Stefano's ruined Ferrari. So this gave people the chance to pit behind the safety car. As you can see on the left hand side, lots of people pitted here, and we were able to gain enough places to get up into 7th place. Jeff was very insistent that we stop for another time. We weren't going to do that. I don't know what he's on about. So, end of lap 14, safety car restart number 2, and again we're just going to try and be careful about it. There's no point in trying to get right underneath Beckford's rear wing because you can get a bit of a stop-start, people getting limited, and it's just not going to be a good idea. But we're going to try and make sure we're in touch. We've still got another 10 laps, including this one that we're on, and we're in 7th. So at this point I was still thinking we can get a good result. I wasn't convinced I was going to be able to win or anything, but I was hoping to get a few more places ahead. And even though we've lost a bit of time here, I was still confident that we could catch the cars in front. And you can see we start catching them as they start being a little bit more congested and a little bit more cautious on the first lap. Particularly a lot of people on hards in front, they're not going to be having an amazing time. and as we come through this castle section we get that whole concertina effect and everything starts to close up. So again, I was feeling like this was going to work quite nicely. I was still very happy on my hard tyres. I didn't really feel like I had any problem in terms of wear or traction or anything like that. So I was still happy, and I thought if we can try and pick some people off before we get DRS enabled, so we're not in a DRS train, then that would be really handy. Now Beckford's in front of us, he's in a Williams, so he's not going to be super speedy down the straights. So we're thinking maybe we can try and do something through here. Except we can't, because Rye has crashed and brought out the third safety car of the race. Excellent. Now we gained a place at the end of the lap because Frankie decided to pit for a fresh set of softs, and that ended up not being an amazing idea as he didn't really gain the places, but it put us up into 6th. And when we got the restart we were a little bit closer to the cars ahead because there'd been a bit of a limiting, but again we were going to try and see what we could do with the cars in front before DRS got enabled. So we're thinking about a move here, but unfortunately what happens is Monty has a bit of a moment from the lead and means that Beckford is a bit cautious, and I kind of have to be a bit cautious because of that. I could have maybe gone a bit bold and gone a bit send happy and tried to get the inside, but again I thought it'd be better to wait for a really good opportunity. So Monty pitted at the end of the lap. We don't quite have the legs on Beckford to go up the inside into turn 1 at this point, but we're thinking, well, you know, there's always another DRS zone the next lap. So end of lap 19, there's no Monty in front, no cars to give him a tow, and we're going to get the job done without DRS nice and easily. Go up the inside, use the rich fuel and use the overtake to go up the inside. We possibly brake a little bit too late and maybe go a little bit too wide. We have a little bit of a lock up. Hamilton could have thought about the switchback but decided not to. So thanks for that. And we got the job done. And we were in 4th. Nearly 4 seconds behind though, so we needed to get a move on. Now on lap 22, Hags retired and we ended up having a virtual safety car. Fortunately not a full safety car, which didn't really help because it meant that took, I don't know, 30 seconds out of a race where I was unable to catch up. But by the start of lap 23, this is the end of sector 1, we were right on the tail of Tony and Al, who were 2nd and 3rd respectively. But because they were battling so hard, and because the middle sector in Baku is just impossible to overtake, I mean, what are you going to do, send it up the inside into the castle? No, of course not. So we were going to struggle to get any overtakes done through this section. We just had to stay on their tail, not turn things off like we did with Chugsy, and just stay with Al, who had a little bit of front wing damage. So at the end of lap 23 we've got DRS, so we're going to go for the overtake. We're not really fully committing to it because we don't have very much ERS, so we're not even on overtake mode, and we're going to see if we can go around the outside, and we're going to try and hang it out. We don't actually quite manage to get it done. We get a good exit, but because we were slightly off the track, the game decides that that must have been an illegal overtake, which, I mean, I get why that is an illegal overtake by the letter of the law, but I mean, it's not like I could have gone any further left because Al was there, so a bit annoying. And then just to help me out, I get a bump from Beckford behind, which at the time I was absolutely delighted with, but never mind, it is what it is, and we now need to set about recatching Al. So end of lap 25, and this time we've got a bit of ERS to play with. We've got rich fuel, we're going to have the DRS, and we're going to make sure we get past Al a hell of a lot earlier so we can't get any silly illegal overtake nonsense this time round. So we deploy the DRS, we're going on the outside, but again we're just too fast. We get the job done, Al pulls in behind, and we get the car stopped nicely, and we get the move done, and that's us up into 3rd place. And that was the best I was going to be able to do. I wasn't able to catch the cars in front. Maybe with another lap or two I'd have been able to get Tony for 2nd, but it was what it was, and I took it incredibly incredibly well, as you can see. Oh well. But there we go. So on paper, that's a good result. We finished third. That's the best result I've had all season, but I was very much not happy with it because I'd been hoping for at least 2 places better than that and something like my grid spot. But hey ho, onwards and upwards. Take the points for the championship, where we have now climbed up to 7th from 9th to have a total of 54 points. And yeah, given that we've got a couple more races to come in the AlphaTauri and some other non-Williams related cars to drive, I was hopeful that we could establish ourselves in the upper reaches of the championship. So, what have we learnt today? Don't trust technology? I don't know. I mean, it's slightly frustrating when you feel like a race result has been taken out of your own hands. I don't feel like I did anything wrong, really. I think the only things I did wrong were maybe overthinking things like, I could have got Chugsy if I hadn't turned the fuel down stupidly, but hey ho. But I don't think I could have done anything differently there, and I've ended up with what I perceived, at the time anyway, to be not a great result. So that was very disappointing. I think I've just got to sort of accept it, move on, onwards and upwards to Silverstone in the next round, and just do as well as I can there, really. Let's give it a go anyway. So that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of the video down below in the comments, and do all the usual liking and subscribing stuff if you haven't already done so. Always really helps me out and really helps the channel out. And if you want to catch up with me on social media type places, then you can catch me on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Discord, where everything is all kicking off. Details are in the description below. And if you want to watch these races as they happen live on Twitch every Sunday and Wednesday, then, well, the link's on the screen right now, and it's also in the description. So hopefully I'll see you there sometime soon. But until then, and until the next race, goodbye.